Hello there, my lovelies. Thank you for listening to the voices in our heads, where we visit with creative minds and their creative processes. Welcome to the final episode of Season 3. My name is Jenna O'Malley, your soul writer, author of sci-fi fantasy with dashes of romance and nerdy references. Today we're visiting with Belle Zimet, a fellow paranormal romance and fantasy lover, including urban legends. We'll talk about her life as an author mom, puns about romance, and smatterings of the other genre she's including in her writing, horror and comedy. So settle in and don't forget to like, sub, click the bell, leave comments wherever you please on the video, either live or on the replay. And ultimately, take care of yourself. You're worth it. Let's rock it. Welcome back, my lovelies, to another episode of Listening to the Voices in Our Heads with me, Jenna O'Malley, your soul writer, author of fantasy and a dash of romance with those nerdy references. I have a new friend here with us today, though, everybody. Why don't you take a moment, my dear, and introduce yourself?
I am Belle Zimet. I write ghost fiction. That's what Amazon has me as, and it works because I'm kind of all over the place as far as genre. There's like some romance, but that's not the main thrust of it. No pun intended.
Good pun. Intend your puns.
I will intend the pun. There's no main thrust with the romance. And then it's light horror, but it's not overly horrifying. It's funny, but it's not comedy. So I'm just kind of like. But there is always ghosts, and it's fictional. So ghost fiction works, and that is what I do primarily.
So it's kind of like ghost fiction, but touches of real life things, like people still fall in love. People still go to school and that kind of thing.
Always a love story. And though it's based on urban legends, like the people involved are all fictionalized. So yeah, we have those aspects of all the good stuff in fiction with romance, etc.
Ooh, so it sounds like something right up my alley as I expand my to be read list for sure. So just right off the bat, as far as winning any awards, do you run any services outside of doing author work? Do you have an Instagram, a podcast, any of that in nature as well?
So I think I have the laundry list of the social media platforms, but I'm basically yeah, you kind of have to. I mean, even though some of them just kind of get left in the dust. But generally, I am on TikTok and Facebook are where I'm most active. Instagram, kind of. And then Twitter, just like every once in a while, I throw it a bone. I have not put myself up for any awards yet. I've been kind of doing this whole author things kind of backwards. I started out small and I just kind of started adding things.
So you started in flash fiction or short fiction, or?
I started straight out the gate with the novels, but I didn't do a whole lot of research. So we're talking, I am just now getting my reader list going, my mailing list. I feel like I've just done everything.
Don't feel bad.
Thank you. Like I've had it forever. I've never actually sent one out. And I'm just now finally getting to those kind of, things that you're supposed to do as an author. It's just been fiction, set it out. And now I'm getting to that other side of business.
It's a different process for other people, because I know other authors who they started the business end first and then the novel came later.
Smart.
For me, I knew if I didn't finish the book, the business end didn't matter.
Right.
So you really need to know what you can do. And your process was backwards to others. But to me, I'm going, that's kind of how I did it too. So question mark.
Kindred spirits.
We do find each other somehow, do we not?
Mm-hmm.
So do you read as well as write in your genre, or do you have like a secret guilty pleasure that's not your writing genre?
Okay. So I am all over the map. Just like with my genre situation, I like to read a lot of things. So I read in my genre-ish. So we do paranormal romance, we do paranormal, chick lit, thriller. I just basically add them all in. Some fantasy, some young adults, new adults. I think the only thing I have a hard time getting into is science fiction.
Has writing always been your life? And if not, do you have other careers? What's going on with your family? Did you study something else?
I started out oddly with the reading and the writing. I'm dyslexic. And so yeah, that presented when I was, very young. And in second grade, I still wasn't really reading up to par. and they got me a special educator who just kind of came in and just changed everything. And then my mom was still wanting to get me into reading. And she got me this book, and I hate that I can't remember this author. It's so terrible. It was called Ghost in My Soup.
Oh my goodness, yes. I forget the name of the author as well, but one of my other students, I actually teach students who have reading disabilities in my day job, and that's like their favorite childhood book, and they were raving about it because it was fun but hard to read. And
my first chapter.
Yeah.
It was so lovely. And then there was a sequel, Ghost a la Mode.
I wonder if they know there's a sequel. I'll have to. Thank you for sharing that. So how has that affected your writing then? Did you also have the writing equivalent dysgraphia is what I'm asking.
I did have, yes, some of that. If I look back at my old letters, I mean, even when I was 10, everything is very backwards. It looks a little Sanskrit-y. But between that teacher and just voracious reading, it's become less of an issue. I do notice it when I go back editing occasionally, but otherwise, like it is pretty. It's worked out very well, and I did end up making my first novel when I was 11.
That's a feat! Wow.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't any good. It's somewhere in the ether. I don't like. My mom might have it. I don't know. Somebody probably has on their shelf. Like, oh, look at that silly little book. But I hand wrote it. It would be fun to look at it now and see exactly how my writing where it's come from. So I was writing very early. It was always in the plan to, be end game for me in terms of profession. And then I grew up, I had a family, and I didn't actually get into the author game until I hit 40 and both my kids were in school.
How has that, what's the age of your kiddos right now as you're publishing? Are they still elementary, or are they old enough to read your books, we'll say?
Not old enough to read them yet. My daughter is 12 and a half.
Getting there. Wow.
Yeah, she is getting there. And my son is 8.
Oh, so you're going to have one moving on to middle school, if not has already. Oh,
I have a middle schooler, and an elementary schooler.
I wasn't sure if 6th grade was elementary or middle, is why I said that.
Different everywhere.
You grow up to be okay sometimes.
It works out most of the time.
Yes. So as far as for you, has mom been the career? I consider being a mom not just, it should be equivalent to what you go through at work. You get stressed out. You have tons of things to deal with every day. So if that's your career, I understand. But was there something else or no?
No, I went ahead and I was a stay-at-home mom, and until I picked this up, and it's just been full steam ahead. And
it sounds like the kiddos are good kiddos, but they can still give you a handful.
Oh yeah, and if I forgot, like Summer has reminded me. But they've come a long way, and we did the strict quarantine, so we didn't see anybody but the 4 of us, for over a year. So we're all pretty used to each other, and we're very close. But yeah, now that they've gotten used to be socializing so much again, there's just a million different places to drive them, so I'm constantly getting interrupted during summer, even though they're so sweet. Somebody has a play date here and a hangout there and a movie there, and
it's like you're catching up.
Yep, exactly. Like I'm really in the zone, and then they're like, oh, I gotta go here, I need to pick this up, and it's regular daily minutia.
They'll be driving soon. One of them will be driving soon. Hopefully that helps.
Yeah,
it's sad to
take the other one.
Grow up. There you go.
The driver's license makes it easier to see them grow up, probably.
Yeah, that's true. So what is your biggest fear and your biggest excitement then as an author?
I think biggest fear, if nobody read it, that's painful. Like you want to share the art. So if nobody read it, and then I guess secondly, if everybody was like, this sucks. But then the greatest joy is also having them read it and enjoy it, seeing it occupy somebody for hours. Somebody chooses to spend their time with you basically inside your head. And there's really no bigger compliment than that, or better thing as an artist.
Especially in today's age. And an author I follow, paranormal romance, J.R. Ward, might ring a bell. Mm-hmm. She said in an interview once that any type of author, just not her as a commercial author, but her especially, you compete not just for people's money to buy the book in whatever format. You're competing for a higher end resource, their time. And you're competing against Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Netflix,
baseball season, football season, the kids' soccer game, so on and so forth. And it goes right in line with what you're saying. You donated your time and interest to delve into my head. That is a huge compliment. So thank you for bringing that to here as a reminder, because I think some authors probably are needing to hear that.
Yeah, I mean, that's the game. Like, of course you want to make money, but at the end of the day, you want people to want to read your product and like your product. And you're right, we're in this like bite-sized media era.
That's a good way to word it.
Mm-hmm. Like TikToks, like it's something that can be easily consumed very quickly, and we're asking these people to sit down for hours upon hours, and just really deep dive into our subconscious. And
I'm not as into the talk because my students kind of ruin it for me, you see. Anyway, what advice do you have for making that bite-sized content? Because what's your time limit on TikToks? Is it 30 seconds or?
I think you can actually go up to like 10 minutes. But
okay.
Yeah, I mean, certain accounts can. Most people can have 3 minutes, 1 minute. You can do 15 seconds, anywhere in between 1 and 3 minutes. But generally speaking, most people will notice that the more viral videos are very small. They say within like 8 seconds, because so much of it is algorithm based. They want the people to stay and watch again, invest 16 seconds instead of 8. So if there's just all these tricks to it, which feel very artificial. But it's kind of the name of the game there.
It's very hard to snapshot something down into a handful of seconds.
Absolutely. And like all us writers hate writing blurbs, right? And it feels like it's just one big blurb on TikTok.
Might not even be that long. Goodness, because blurbs are like 150 words. Can someone say 150 words in 5 seconds?
There's a Guinness check World Records. I'm sure somebody can.
There's probably a Guinness World Record, something or other on that. These days I wouldn't be surprised. So just kind of feeding off the TikTok, what has it done for you? Because you just had a book come out recently and you're getting ready to put out another soon. What has that done for you as far as gathering readers, being a relatively newly published author?
I don't think it's done a whole heck of a lot, honestly. I have not mastered the formula, and it's hard for me to, try and distill personality down to this exact cookie cutter bit, which is TikTok. And people are really good at it, and it's an art, and it's really cool when they can do that, but it doesn't seem to be me. And so I think mostly mine has just been advertising, and TikTok for me has been great for meeting other authors.
I've heard that part. Yeah.
That's where I have really gotten a lot out of it.
So as far as people who you think are using that well, and other authors you've met, could you mention a few just to shout them out a little bit?
Let's see. So on there's a great author named W.L. Brooks. And she is so fun. She's got this very genuine personality that comes through. She kind of runs the gamut from A to Z as far as different kinds of content. So you're never bored watching her.
That's good.
And you just kind of fall in love with her watching her. So W.L. Brooks is really fantastic on there. Of course, I'm blanking on everybody else.
I kind of threw that one at you following the tangent. One is perfect. Thank you. And that way some of our authors in the audience, because I know some author friends of mine here on the YouTubes do both or are looking into doing both. So someone to follow. Thank you for that very much.
Absolutely.
Now, when you originally contacted me with some ideas of what to talk about, you mentioned, not necessarily as a topic, but kind of offhand, that you wish you had picked a pen name. Jenna O'Malley's a pen name for me, kind of. Jenna's something I took from real life. I just stole Pirate Captain Grace O'Malley's last name because I'm Irish. And so when you mentioned that, I was like, your name could have been a pen name, in my opinion.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much.
I'm thinking because so many girls in the 90s grew up with Disney Belle.
Yes.
That's where I went with. But why didn't you decide to go with a pen name? And what would you have gone with if you had one in mind?
I wish that I had gotten the pen name just because I think I wasn't ready for Google. Like, it's so kind of freaky to me that I'm putting in both my author name and my name, and it's just coming up with this, all these. It's just very strange for somebody to be able to like look up the last 40 residences I lived in. I haven't lived in 40, only 39.
That's a good point though. That's a good point. I didn't consider.
And so, and I'm small potatoes, so it's not like this is an issue, but it is just kind of like, I just wish I had given more thought to it, weighted a little more heavily in terms of what that would mean going forward. Now that I'm here, it's fine. And it's the day of information. It's like the dawn of information, and people would be able to find it if they really wanted anyhow. In terms of what I would pick, I mean, something probably like Jane Austen-y or witchy, or, like something I love. I don't know what that would look like. I probably would have still stuck with Belle.
And just changed the last name out.
The last name.
That's the easiest to go.
Mm-hmm. Or I'm still turning when somebody calls my name. Or initials, yes. That's a smart way too.
BZ something. That would have been interesting. That might be something for the future. You can have a pen name in the future for something else.
Never know.
Change genre.
Yep.
Who knows?
Yep.
So if you have a different alias when you started, I'll change this next question a little bit. If you had a different alias, do you think it would have changed like your persona at all as how you present yourself as an author?
It might have. I mean, I think I do try to just go for authenticity. But you never know. Like I'm kind of theatrical. So if I had a different name, I might come up with a different kind of persona to go with it. And, we'll see if I ever end up busting out a new pen name and new social media based on that.
I've seen a couple of authors change their pen names depending on genre, is why I've asked. So
yeah,
definitely would look forward to see what you pick in the future in that regard. So do you think it's wise for people to keep one pen name or have many in light of that, especially if they do genre jump? Or is it just personal preference, do you think?
I mean, I think I currently am thinking of going contemporary romance. I have one that's partially written, just, as a side thing. And I think it's next door enough to my current genre that I probably would just keep my name. But like, I feel like if you're going from contemp romance to like a hard-boiled detective story, your readership's going to be like, and then at that point, probably we better be picking, BZ Jones or whatever for my hard-boiled detective name.
That actually would be a pretty good unisex choice too, to be a little ambiguous, which seems to be a theme with those stories. So you mentioned that your book, we're going to talk about Ghost Ship here in a moment. What's your favorite part about writing about like urban legends and in urban settings?
I love that urban legends are kind of a canvas, like they're basically a blank canvas because they're this big giant game of telephone. So many urban legends have roots in so many different cultures, and they're constantly changing, as one person tells the story, like, and it just like waterfalls down through society in that way. And so I love that I can take these popular urban legends and put my own spin on it, and that'll be okay, because the whole idea of an urban legend is they're unexplained, and we don't really know much about it. So I can go in there, fictionalize it, make it satisfying, explain it. And that's just so much fun to me.
I live slightly north of where Mothman originally is supposed to have originated from. And
Point Pleasant?
Point Pleasant, West Virginia. Yeah. You have no clue how many different kids have told me 30 different versions plus of this story, and they all have some similar overlaps. But like
always
you're
the
saying,
nugget of truth, yeah.
But the sightings, they're so
They still happening? The Mothman sightings?
Some of my kids, we had the high school I worked at the beginning of my career had a cryptology hunting club, and we would go cryptid hunting, and Mothman was their favorite because we lived within a 2 to 3 hour radius of most sightings. It was a matter of renting a school van for a group of 10 kids and me, and throwing a cooler, and we're gone for an afternoon.
Oh, that sounds amazing. I would do that to this day.
It was a fun afternoon, and it got them out of the school.